So I was peeking at this Prius. I believe it's a 2016 Prius. And this Toyota Prius has no power. Open the door, nothing illuminates on the dash. Usually when you open a Prius door, you at least get the red door ajar emblem on that center instrument cluster there. Didn't see anything like that. Hit the dome lights, headlights, nothing was lighting up. At that point, I confirmed it was a dead battery. One way of doing that without going all the way to the back battery is this red jumper post here. So that's a great place to actually check the battery voltage. And it's also the power supply post to power up the vehicle. Now you don't have a traditional starter motor, so you're not trying to really send all the current to the starter from there, but you're trying to power the electronics. I don't recommend jumper cables because it's too easy to hook them up backwards or possibly spike the electronics on this type of hybrid model. So I always recommend using a jumper pack that has reverse polarity protection. Usually that protection will be labeled on the box that you purchase a jumper pack in. The first jumper pack was not capable of powering up this battery that was at like 3 volts. So then I used this lead acid jumper pack, and this one here that you see right now, that was able to power it up. So I'm now powering up the vehicle from the jumper post. So at that point I can release the rear hatch. Otherwise, opening the rear hatch could be a nightmare without power. So at that point, I'm trying to get to the battery, which is behind the rear passenger side tail lamp. And you have to pull out the luggage and the luggage tray, which you see right here. And looks like they have a couple spotlights. You can never have enough spotlights, I guess, and extension cords. So this battery that you're going to see in a minute looks like it was the original battery. They tend to last a long time. They're a glass mat battery, and they seem to last 6-7 years. I think part of that reason is that 12-volt battery doesn't have to work all that hard, because once you power on the vehicle and you're operating this Prius, the high voltage battery pack is actually doing most of the work. So this 12-volt battery pack is really the most important job it has, is to initially turn on the actual 12-volt system. And you can think of it as like a capacitor to store some of that 12-volt power. I decided to leave the ground cable attached to the battery just because it was easier. It's not easy to get to the negative terminal 10mm nut to loosen the negative terminal on the battery, so I just undo it from the chassis side. And that's the battery. It's about $300 battery. Not cheap by any means, twice as much as the average battery, but hopefully it lasts almost as long as the factory one. So I'm switching over the negative battery cable there. And those posts on that battery are really tiny too. They really don't have to draw all that much current. One of the reasons a car battery is usually twice as big is because the starter on the starter motor draws a huge amount of current to start the vehicle initially. And so this Prius doesn't need all that current, all that electricity to start the engine, because in reality a high voltage battery is using the electric motor in the transmission to start this Prius engine. So I want to say some Honda hybrid models might actually have a 12-volt starter as a backup, but maybe that was an early Accord hybrid. So this is pretty much the end of the video. There's, after this it powered up, everything was okay. I didn't show the whole process, but this gives you an idea of what it's like dealing with a hybrid that has a dead battery, in this case a Prius.